migrant on the border with Egypt. After he filmed it, he ran. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
The UN chief, Ban Ki-moon, earlier condemned the violence in Libya and called for international action against the attacks on civilians.
We are closely watching developments in Bahrain, Yemen, and other countries. We view the recent events in Libya with particularly grave concern. The current situation is unpredictable and could go in any number of directions, many of them dangerous. At this critical juncture, it is imperative that the international community maintain unity and act together to ensure a prompt and peaceful transition. I want to underscore what my special advisors on the prevention of genocide and the responsibility to protect said yesterday. The reported nature and scale of the attacks on civilians are egregious violations of international humanitarian and human rights law. I condemn them loudly and without qualification, and those responsible must be held accountable in courts of law.
Let's speak to Edward Luck, who joins us live from New York. He's the UN Special Advisor on the responsibility to protect. Mr. Luck, thank you very much for giving us your time here on Al Jazeera. We were listening there to Ban Ki-moon. Mr. Luck, stay right there. We're just going to cross over to President Obama and listen to what he has to say.
Way forward. First, we are doing everything we can to protect American citizens. That is my highest priority. In Libya, we've urged our people to leave the country, and the State Department is assisting those in need of support. Meanwhile, I think all Americans should give thanks to the heroic work that's being done by our Foreign Service officers and the men and women serving in our embassies and consulates around the world. They represent the very best of our country and its values. Now, throughout this period of unrest and upheaval across the region, the United States has maintained a set of core principles which guide our approach. These principles apply to the situation in Libya. As I said last week, we strongly condemn the use of violence in Libya. The American people extend our deepest condolences to the families and loved ones of all who've been killed and injured. The suffering and bloodshed is outrageous, and it is unacceptable. So are threats and orders to shoot peaceful protesters and further punish the people of Libya. These actions violate international norms and every standard of common decency. This violence must stop. The United States also strongly supports the universal rights of the Libyan people. That includes the rights of peaceful assembly, free speech, and the ability of the Libyan people to determine their own destiny. These are human rights. They are not negotiable. They must be respected in every country, and they cannot be denied through violence or suppression. In a volatile situation like this one, it is imperative that the nations and peoples of the world speak with one voice, and that has been our focus. Yesterday, a unanimous UN Security Council sent a clear message that it condemns the violence in Libya, supports accountability for the perpetrators, and stands with the Libyan people. This same message, by the way, has been delivered by the European Union, the Arab League, the African Union, the Organization of the Islamic Conference, and many individual nations. North and south, east and west, voices are being raised together to oppose suppression and support the rights of the Libyan people. I've also asked my administration to prepare the full range of options that we have to respond to this crisis. This includes those actions we may take and those we will coordinate with our allies and partners, or those that we'll carry out through multilateral institutions. Like all governments, the Libyan government has a responsibility to refrain from violence, to allow humanitarian assistance to reach those in need, and to respect the rights of its people. It must be held accountable for its failure to meet those responsibilities, and face the cost of continued violations of human rights. This is not simply a concern of the United States. The entire world is watching, and we will coordinate our assistance and accountability measures with the international community. To that end, Secretary Clinton and I have asked Bill Burns, our Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, to make several stops in Europe and the region to intensify our consultations with allies and partners about the situation in Libya. I've also asked Secretary Clinton to travel to Geneva on Monday, where a number of foreign ministers will convene for a session of the Human Rights Council. There she'll hold consultations with her counterparts on events throughout the region and continue to ensure that we join with the international community to speak with one voice to the government and the people of Libya. And even as we are focused on the urgent situation in Libya, let me just say that our efforts continue to address the events taking place elsewhere, including how the international community can most effectively support the peaceful transition to democracy in both Tunisia and in Egypt. So let me be clear. The change that is taking place across the region is being driven by the people of the region. This change doesn't represent the work of the United States or any foreign power. It represents the aspirations of people who are seeking a better life. As one Libyan said, we just want to be able to live like human beings. We just want to be able to live like human beings. It is the most basic of aspirations that is driving this change. And throughout this time of transition, the United States will continue to stand up for freedom, stand up for justice, and stand up for the dignity of all people. Thank you very much.
All right, so that was the U.S. President Barack Obama there speaking live at the White House on the situation in Libya, strongly condemning the use of violence, he said, that's taking place in the country. He also said that he's asked his administration to prepare a full range of options to consider what the U.S. can do in this situation. He also called for Libya to refrain from the violence. A lot of condemnation, it seemed, from his statement, but we can cross over to Al Jazeera's Rosalind Jordan in Washington for more analysis. Rosalind, what did we see there exactly from the President Barack Obama?
Well, not only are we seeing perhaps the first on-camera comments from President Barack Obama about the situation, the worsening situation in Libya, but we are also hearing a reiteration of what his Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had to say to reporters a little earlier today here in Washington, namely that the first priority of the U.S. government is to protect the welfare of the Americans who are inside Libya and who are trying to leave. We also heard a reiteration from the president, something that we heard from the secretary about 2 hours ago, which is that all Americans should leave Libya as soon as possible. One other note, Dareen,